The greatest treasure hunt the world has ever obsessed over has finally reached its end, and the result is bigger, stranger, and more explosive than anyone imagined. The History Channel has officially confirmed what the Lagina brothers have spent their lives chasing. The Oak Island treasure is real, and it's nothing like the old stories claimed. This isn't about a dusty box of pirate coins or a few jewels lost to time. What they uncovered is a sprawling, multi-level chamber filled with relics spanning continents, cultures, and entire eras of human history. And at the center of it all, a piece of technology so impossibly advanced for its age that historians are scrambling to even explain how it exists. This discovery doesn't just close a mystery, it blows open a much larger one with unsettling implications about who truly reached the Americas long before Columbus ever set sail. 2 centuries of waiting. Over. It finally happened. After more than 200 relentless years of digging, drilling, pumping, and praying, the Oak Island treasure has been found and confirmed. And no, this isn't another interesting artifact or a shard of wood everybody argues about for 7 episodes. They breached the vault. But what they found inside makes pirate legends look like bedtime stories. Because tucked inside that chamber is an artifact so out of place, so historically impossible, that if it's authentic, and lab tests say it is, it could rewrite the entire timeline of North American history. A relic powerful organizations have allegedly spent centuries trying to keep buried. And now it's out. You won't believe what the Lagina brothers actually pulled from that pit. The moment of the breakthrough looked like something out of a blockbuster movie. Deep under the garden shaft, right where geochemist Dr. Ian Spooner reported those off-the-charts gold and silver readings in the water, the team's massive drill finally punched through the last man-made barrier. And no, it wasn't wood, it wasn't stone, it was a dense, concrete-like mixture embedded with animal bone and an unknown metal, clearly engineered to survive both time and technology. When they dropped the remote camera into the opening, the room fell silent. On screen appeared a perfectly sealed, vault-like chamber roughly 15 feet by 15 feet, built from enormous, hand-carved granite blocks. The team is now calling it the Sanctuary. Inside were several chests, one reinforced with iron, held gold coins, Spanish, French, and unbelievably Roman. Coins bearing the faces of emperors who ruled more than 1,000 years before Columbus reached the Caribbean. Roman currency, 160 feet underground, in Nova Scotia. That alone could rewrite the textbooks, but the deeper they looked, the stranger it got. Another chest contained scrolls stored inside lead cylinders. When researchers carefully unrolled one, they found a star map. Except it wasn't a map of our familiar northern sky. It outlined constellations only visible from deep in the southern hemisphere. Even more shocking, the writing around the chart appears to be a hybrid of ancient Hebrew and Phoenician. 2 cultures separated by oceans and centuries. All those skeptics who laughed at the 90-foot stone? Yeah, they're not laughing now, but the object that stole everyone's breath was resting atop a stone pedestal at the chamber's center. A ceremonial sword. Not a cross, a sword. A Roman gladius, its hilt wrapped in gold and uncut gemstones, but forged from a metal that modern tests confirmed was meteoric iron, the same sacred sky metal used by ancient Egyptians long before steel existed. Carved into the hilt was a perfectly formed 2-barred cross, the unmistakable mark of the Knights Templar. This discovery doesn't just hint the Templars reached North America, it implies they carried their most sacred relics with them and entombed them here. Beside the pedestal, 2 human skeletons were found positioned like eternal guardians. This wasn't a treasure dump, it was a sacred chamber, a message to whoever would someday find it. And with this breakthrough, the centuries-old legend suddenly feels disturbingly real. 7 must die before the island reveals its truth. 6 lives have already been lost in the quest. The 7th, thankfully, was not required. But the prophecy hangs in the air all the same. The mystery of what was buried on Oak Island is finally solved. But the mystery of why has only just begun. 200 years of obsession. To understand why this discovery is shaking the world, you have to understand what came before it. Oak Island wasn't some casual weekend dig. For generations, it consumed fortunes, destroyed lives, and pushed men to the edge of madness. It all began in 1795, when a teenager named Daniel McGinnis spotted a strange circular depression in the ground. He and 2 friends started digging, and 10 feet down, they hit a platform of oak logs. 20 feet, another, 30 feet, another. They knew instantly someone had engineered this. That pit would become one of the most famous archaeological puzzles on Earth, the Money Pit. Over the next 2 centuries, the island became a battlefield of epic engineering attempts. Companies came and went. Truro, Enslow, the Oak Island Association, each convinced they would be the ones to crack the code. But the island fought back. Every time someone got close, the hidden flood tunnels unleashed walls of seawater that swallowed entire shafts in minutes. It was a booby-trap system so advanced it rivaled anything from ancient engineering. Massive steam pumps, towering cranes, entire cofferdams. It didn't matter. The island always won. In the 1960s, Robert Dunfield basically tried to brute force the mystery by tearing half the island open with earth-moving equipment. But even after carving a crater more than 100 feet deep, he still hit nothing but evidence of more tunnels, a labyrinth, designed by someone brilliant, and the human cost was devastating. 6 people lost their lives. Fumes, collapses, accidents, each tragedy fueling the eerie belief that the island demanded 7 souls before surrendering its secret. Now, after centuries of sacrifice, that secret has finally come to light. But the revelation is far bigger than the treasure anyone imagined. The theories about what lay hidden under Oak Island were just as wild and just as eccentric as the search itself. Was it Captain Kidd's legendary pirate haul, the missing French crown jewels, Francis Bacon's secret manuscripts proving he ghost-wrote Shakespeare's plays? For years, treasure hunters repeated the same belief. Whatever lies beneath Oak Island isn't just wealth, it's knowledge. And honestly, how else do you explain bookbinding material found hundreds of feet deep inside the Money Pit? That discovery alone sent historians spiraling. But the theory that captivated everyone, the one that kept this mystery burning for generations, was the possibility that the Knights Templar hid their greatest relics here. Maybe even the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant itself. Each new clue, from the coded 90-foot stone to that mysterious lead cross discovered seasons ago, only fanned the flames. Generation after generation added their own chapter to the saga, and eventually the torch made its way into the hands of the Lagina brothers. But one thing quickly became clear. The old methods weren't going to solve a 200-year-old puzzle. They needed something the early diggers never had. For centuries, Oak Island was attacked with brute strength and blind faith. But the Laginas did something different, something smarter. They turned the entire island into a scientific experiment. No more guessing, no more random shafts. Instead, they began by digitally mapping the ground beneath their feet using ground-penetrating radar and seismic imaging, transforming the island into a 3D blueprint. Those scans revealed something no one expected: an interconnected web of tunnels and massive, intentionally constructed chambers. One anomaly beneath what would become the garden shaft stood out. It looked exactly like a sealed vault, not a hunch, not a rumor. Data. Then came the real game changer: Dr. Ian Spooner's water analysis. By sampling water from boreholes across the island, his team detected sky-high levels of dissolved gold and silver in the Money Pit region. Not trace amounts, hundreds of times normal. Spooner went on camera and said what everyone was secretly thinking: something big is down there, something metal, and a lot of it. The treasure, whatever it was literally leaking into the environment. With that data, the team zeroed in with uncanny precision. Next came core drilling. Instead of tearing the island apart, they extracted long cylinders of earth from up to 150 feet below. These cores produced hints of human activity older than the island's written history: coconut fiber, fragments of parchment, oak timbers, even pieces of human bone. Every core sample was like a torn page from a book someone didn't want you to read. Carbon dating confirmed the materials ranged from the 1600s and 1700s, proof that a coordinated, secretive construction project happened here long before the Money Pit was discovered. So why was the garden shaft the focal point? Because scientific data suggested the Money Pit might have been a decoy, a trap designed to drain resources and mislead intruders. The real treasure chamber was offset, hidden, and heavily fortified. It took the combined power of GPR mapping, geochemical analysis, and precise drilling to finally beat the island's original architects at their own game. In the end, this wasn't a lucky discovery. It was the first time in history that science was strong enough, accurate enough, advanced enough to bypass the island's defenses. Now the world is asking, what does this find mean for us? Gold, scrolls, meteoric swords. It sounds like something out of a movie, but the implications are very real. The discoveries inside that chamber have the potential to upend entire sections of world history, not tweak them, rewrite them. Let's start with the biggest shock: the Knights Templar link. For centuries, the idea of the Templars making it to North America was treated like fringe fantasy, but a ceremonial sword, forged from meteoric iron, marked with their symbol. That's not speculation. That's evidence. The Templars were dissolved in the 1300s. Legends say they fled with their enormous treasure and holy relics. If they reached Oak Island long before Columbus, it means they possessed advanced navigation, massive resources, and a secret agenda. This suggests pre-Columbian contact wasn't limited to Vikings. It may have included one of the most powerful military religious orders in medieval Europe. And those Roman coins? That's an even bigger shock. Either Romans reached the New World, or, more plausibly, their coins were part of a Templar treasure cache accumulated over centuries. Still, finding Roman currency buried deep beneath Canadian soil hundreds of years early is like discovering a smartphone in an Egyptian tomb. Utterly impossible, yet undeniably real. Then there are the scrolls. If they contain maps, star charts, or forbidden knowledge written in hybrid ancient languages, they could hold secrets scholars believed were lost forever. Such information might have been suppressed, hidden, or considered dangerous in medieval Europe. The fact the chamber was named the Sanctuary hints at its true purpose: not wealth storage, but knowledge preservation. This find reshapes American history, European history, even Middle Eastern history. It links an outlawed order of warrior monks to the shores of Nova Scotia, and hints at a level of secrecy and navigation, more advanced than anything we credit medieval society with. But not everyone is convinced. Critics aren't staying quiet. Many archaeologists warn that extraordinary discoveries demand extraordinary scrutiny. They insist the artifacts must be independently verified before rewriting history. And they raise a fair question. After 200 years of digging, how can we be sure some artifacts weren't dropped by earlier searchers? Others argue the pressure on a television show to produce the big moment might skew interpretation. Could some things have been staged or misidentified? Skeptics think it's possible. Alternative theories multiply. Maybe it was pirates, just far more organized than we ever imagined. Maybe it was French or British forces hiding wartime treasure. Not as romantic as Templars, but still historically significant. And another storm is brewing. Who actually owns this find? The Lagina brothers, the Canadian government, private investors, or, if you believe in legends, the modern descendants of the Knights Templar. But even with all the excitement, one uncomfortable truth hangs over the discovery. Oak Island was never just a hole in the ground. It was a centuries-long psychological labyrinth. Everyone who stepped onto that island walked in feeling curious and left feeling consumed. And that obsession, generation after generation, is part of what makes this revelation so monumental. Because now, we finally understand something the early searchers never could. The creators of the underground complex weren't only hiding treasure, they were hiding intention. Every tunnel, every booby trap, every misleading shaft feels less like defense and more like choreography, an elaborate dance designed to keep intruders confused, exhausted, and constantly chasing the wrong direction. The island itself functioned like a living machine, always one step ahead of the people trying to unravel it. And consider this: whoever built the chamber had to understand geology, structural engineering, hydrology, and likely astronomy. The alignments, the angles, the depth, all of it appears deliberate. Even the flood tunnels, once mistaken for natural formations, now seem like hydraulic technology, centuries ahead of its time. Some experts believe the entire system was built to reset itself, sealing and protecting the contents whenever disturbed. If true, that would make Oak Island one of the most advanced engineered sites on Earth for its era. Imagine the manpower this would have required. Not a few rogue pirates or scattered adventurers. A coordinated workforce, skilled laborers, architects, stone cutters, people who understood metallurgy and secret communication. This was a construction project rivaling ancient temples or medieval fortresses, yet hidden beneath a tiny island on the edge of North America. Now that the chamber has been breached, researchers around the world are speculating on the purpose of the site. Was it a repository of knowledge, a refuge, a ceremonial burial ground, or perhaps a way station, part of a much larger network spanning the globe? Some historians have drawn connections between Oak Island's underground design and ancient structures in the Mediterranean, noting similarities in trap systems, stone weighting, and tunnel layouts. Others suspect the island served as an emergency vault, created during a time of crisis to protect objects from political or religious destruction. But here's the most unsettling possibility. What if the sanctuary was never meant to be opened at all? What if those who built it intended its contents to stay hidden forever, except under very specific conditions? The placement of guardian skeletons suggests a ritual significance. The star chart found within the cylinder hints that navigation or timing may have played a critical role, and the sword, crafted from meteoric iron, symbolizes an object of rank, ceremony, or oath-taking, not warfare. If this chamber wasn't merely a hiding place, but a message for the distant future, then we have to ask, was this discovery predicted, planned, or even warned against? Some scholars argue that the builders encoded astronomical cycles into the site's layout, meaning the treasure was tied to celestial events. If that's true, the island may have been designed as a time capsule triggered by the movement of the heavens. The scroll, featuring southern constellations, supports this theory, suggesting that the knowledge preserved here was meant to outlive empires, religions, and civilizations. And here's where the story becomes even more mysterious. Preliminary translations of the scroll fragments suggest references to the Watchers of the Deep Sky and the Keepers of the Turning Age. No one knows what these phrases mean yet, but they echo terminology from early Templar writings and even older Phoenician texts. If the languages are truly blended, as experts suspect, it could indicate a merging of cultures or a group that collected knowledge across continents long before such contact was accepted by historians. This is why governments are suddenly paying attention. This isn't just a curiosity anymore. It touches on global heritage, religious history, the origins of navigation, and the movement of ancient cultures. Some countries have begun making quiet inquiries, asking for access to photographs, measurements, and early reports. It's not hard to imagine that diplomatic disputes may follow. After all, if the vault contains sacred artifacts, religious authorities will want claims. If it holds ancient documents, historians will demand access. If it contains technological anomalies, scientific organizations will intervene. And if it truly ties to the Templars or any secret order still active today, the implications become even larger. Meanwhile, conspiracy theorists are spiraling. Online forums are buzzing with questions. Why now? Why were the island's defenses finally breached after resisting for centuries? And perhaps the most chilling question, what else did the builders hide that hasn't been found yet? This next chapter won't be dug out of the earth. It'll be hammered out in courtrooms. One thing is certain, history books are being rewritten in real time. And if the Templars truly placed their sacred vault on Oak Island, who's to say their order ever truly disappeared? Like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because this story is only just beginning.